Hi, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about vacationing with your ferrets, or how to vacation with your ferrets. Should you take your ferrets? What do you need to have with you? What should you pack? What should you be prepared for? All of that stuff that goes into taking ferrets on vacation, which is a little bit different than taking your dogs on vacation. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into the video. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, and let's do it. All right, so first recommendation that I have if you're going to go on vacation with your ferrets is that you make sure that you are going to a place that ferrets are permitted. Not everywhere in the United States are ferrets allowed at all. So let's see, I know for sure that Hawaii, California, and Washington, D.C. and New York City, they are not allowed to be kept as pets, and therefore I'm assuming you are not allowed to keep them there while you're vacationing. So I will put a link in the description to all of the places that prohibit ferrets. So you first want to make sure that you're allowed to have your ferret. That's number one. Number two is make sure that the place you're staying, you are allowed to have ferrets. Whether it's a hotel or whether you're renting a house, it's a bed and breakfast, whatever. If you're camping, I mean, obviously that may be a little different, but at the end of the day, make sure that wherever it is that you're gonna be every day, that you're allowed to have your pet with you. That is really important. And just because they say they're pet friendly, make sure that some places may be okay with dogs, but not okay with ferrets. So I would just really highly recommend that you make sure that all of that is allowed before you pack up and head to your vacation spot. It would really suck if you got there and they were like, you can't keep your ferrets. That would be terrible. So I highly recommend that that you do that first. Just make sure they're allowed wherever it is that you're going. Plan where it is that your ferrets are going to sleep. Are they going to sleep in a cage? Is that cage big enough? How many ferrets do you have? Do you have one ferret? And you have to base your decision on sleeping arrangements or just a cage for your pet based on, I guess, really just based on the number of ferrets that you have. For me, I have 4 ferrets. So taking 4 ferrets somewhere on vacation and housing them was definitely an interesting experience for me. I spent months trying to find a cage that I could take with me that would allow my ferrets to be safe and also just not be squished and uncomfortable for 7 days. Now, they did get to run around and they had their own little room. I was able to set it up. I really got lucky. And I was able to accommodate them kind of like they are here, where they're just allowed to come and go in their cage as they please. So that was really great. But having a cage for them is really important. Also, finding a way to travel to get them from point A to point B is also important. You're going to want to make sure that they have a litter box in a traveling cage, particularly in the car, if you're going to be in the car. They're going to, need water, although I would recommend to be a little cautious with that. Just because if you're driving and they're drinking and there's like a bowl or something and you hit a bump, it could hurt them. So I know that sounds really paranoid, but it could happen. It's probably slim chance, but it could happen that they, hit their mouth or something because they're getting a drink. So just be cautious. But you're going to want to have a way to transport them and then a way for them to be safe while you're staying wherever you're staying. So that is also important. I'm going to show you guys now the cage that I used, and I was able to, because I have an SUV, I was able to use this cage not only at the location that we stayed, but also I used this cage to get them from my house to the beach, which was great. And I got really, really lucky. If I did not have the car that I have right now, I would not have been able to do it this way. But this was really awesome, and it allowed for me to put a litter box in with them. Also, it allowed them to not be as squished, because remember, I have 4 ferrets, and that's a lot of ferrets, and you just got to make sure, I don't want them to be uncomfortable. I don't want to take them somewhere and then have them basically stuck in a cage because I couldn't accommodate their needs. So I really did. This was great. I got this cage online. It is not a cage that I would recommend that you use for 4 ferrets particularly as a regular housing, or that you would use just in a normal situation with this many ferrets. If you have one ferret, you probably could do it as long as that ferret was out and about a lot. But for vacation, this cage was perfect. It was for 7 days. Like I said, they got to go and play as they wanted. So this was really just a place for them to sleep if they chose to do that. And it was also a way for me to get them from my house to the beach. So here is the cage. Okay, so this is the cage that I took the ferrets, that I had with me when I took the ferrets on vacation. I was able to flip the cage sideways like this. I took out the shelves and I put hammocks in and a litter box, and I drove them 8 hours. And I basically made the sides, I used a piece of cardboard so that they wouldn't be able to get to the metal. So at the bottom down here was cardboard and fleece and blankets. So they were not laying on this at all. And I drove them down there like that in this cage instead of trying to put them in carriers, because it just doesn't work and there's too many of them. So this is kind of what I did, and I bought this specifically for vacation. I covered these. I did not let the wire show. These were all covered with fleece completely. And then I had hammocks everywhere. And to be honest, because they're free roaming, they really just use this if they wanted to. But I had to have a cage with me just in case. It worked for vacation, and it worked because they were able to go and come as they pleased. I also took a pet stroller, and this pet stroller is one of those ones where it completely encloses, so they could not get out in any way, which was super great because I can load them all in the pet stroller and I could take them for strolls around the community or the beach, and it was super awesome. I love my pet stroller. It took forever for me to find a pet stroller that didn't have an opening where they could get out. So this pet stroller is like amazing. I will show it to you guys. It's my favorite, and I use it all the time. I take them to the vet in it. I take them to the store, wherever we go, and I take the ferrets, I don't take them very many places outside of the house, but when I do, I absolutely use this stroller. So it's great, and I love it. I also brought my play yard, because then I could set that up and let them play outside just like I do here. Or, I did take them on the beach once, but I didn't do it a whole lot. It was just, they kind of I don't know, it was sandy and made them sneeze, and I don't know, I just didn't. But they had a blast. But I would say that just to make sure you bring their toys, stuff for them to play with, that you just treat it just like you're at home, except on vacation. Other thing that I recommend that you make sure you have is whatever supplies you're going to need, particularly food. I know for me, the food that I feed my ferrets, I cannot always get at, I may not be able to get where I'm going on vacation. Also similar with types of litter, you probably, I'm sure there's a pet store where you're vacationing. If there's not, I recommend that you bring your litter with you, enough litter. You definitely want to bring their food, whatever food that you're feeding your ferrets, whatever that is. Whatever preparation has to go into that, you're going to want to make sure that you have that all planned out. And if it's something like you're feeding a raw diet and you're not going to be able to take it with you, just make sure that wherever you're going, you know where the location is to be able to get the needs or the things that you need to feed your ferret. So making sure that you're going to have everything you need, or at least have access to the necessities that your ferret will need, is really important as well. So the other thing that I recommend that you do is just get their documents together. If they have their shots, if they're required to have, most of the time they're required to have shots, particularly in the US. I know some shots are optional. It's kind of like with your cat and dog, you don't have to give them every shot that shoves down your throat. But whatever shots that your ferrets have to have, I would recommend that you have those records with you, or at least have access to them in case you need them. I would recommend that you get some sort of identification for your ferrets. I don't know that necessarily means putting a collar on them. I am not a fan of leaving collars on my ferrets. I just feel uncomfortable with that. I feel that if they get stuck around something, it could potentially hurt them. And with them being in a cage and just being free roaming, I don't leave collars on my ferrets under any circumstances. I just personally don't feel that the risk is worth it. But I would at least recommend that you have all of their documentation and any kind of identifying information that you need, along with your vet's number. I also recommend that you locate a small animal vet or an exotic vet wherever you're going. At least just know the number, know where they're located in case you have an emergency. It can happen, and the last thing you want to do is be in a state or a place that you're unfamiliar and not know where your local vet is that can treat your exotic animal. Again, as I'm sure many of you probably know, not everyone treats ferrets, so I would really recommend that you just at least know where they're located and at least have their number. And all of this may seem very like a lot, like maybe overkill in preparation, but I gotta be honest, it's just better to have that information and to have all of these things in place. That way, in case you need it and something happens, you're already prepared. And I can't stress enough that in emergency situations, sometimes people, they freak out. And so trying to take care of all of that in the moment may be a little overwhelming. So it's just best, I think, to have all of that kind of already on hand in case you need it. That's just why I recommend it. I did not end up needing any of that information, well, as far as particularly for emergency vets or any of that. But I can tell you that if I did, I had the information, and that would have made things a lot easier in case there was an emergency. The other thing I recommend for us, we rented a house on the beach. So what I had to do is before I opened the cage and let the ferrets just go running amok, I had to kind of do a check. I had to do a ferret proofing of the rental house, or at least the area that they were going to be in. I remember that I had to unplug lamps where the cords were hanging really low, and I had to block certain things that they could get into. And I know that where we stayed in the bathroom, it's not like my bathroom vanity. If they got up underneath of there, they would have been right inside the plumbing. So here at my house, when they go underneath the vanity, it's literally just a box. It's closed in and there's nothing under there but floor and the bottom of the vanity. Here, where we vacationed, it wasn't like that. If they would have gone up underneath that vanity, I may have never seen them again, or at least had to tear the whole house to get them out. So it's really important that before you just dump your ferrets out into your new location for the vacation period, that you make sure that you kind of just walk around and make sure that anything that's not safe for your ferrets, anything they can get into, any place that they can hide, anything they can eat, anything that was left from the previous vacationers is picked up and out of the way. I found a pill underneath the bed. It was, I don't know what it was, probably like a Tylenol or something. But the point is that obviously the cleaning, it was way underneath the bed too. Like, I went like underneath the bed on my stomach. Like, I'm a little bit of a nut when it comes to my animals. I'm really overly cautious, and I just don't want anything to happen to them. So, just please make sure that you check all the surroundings of that new environment that you'll be staying, just to make sure that your ferrets aren't getting hurt or that nothing bad will happen to them and that they can't get injured. The other thing I will say too is that you will want to make sure that if you aren't able to let your ferrets free roam, because everyone isn't able to do that, especially if you're camping or something like that, that you also, if you take them out of the cage at a certain time every day and then you take them out at another certain time every day, make sure that they're still getting out and they're still able to have that recommended time to play. Just like you do at home. So just, if you're gonna bring them, I would recommend that you still do the same kind of routine if possible. I know you're on vacation, things will be a little different. You're having fun, like I get all of that. Just make sure that they still get to come out and play. So with a little bit of preparation, you should be able to take your ferrets on vacation and have a great time. It was super fun. I definitely would do it again. I would absolutely take them again. We had such a blast. They had a blast. It was different for them. They had a really good time. I really, really would love to go on vacation this year. Unfortunately, I won't be, but I wish I could. It's so much fun. We are going to camp in our backyard because we have a huge backyard and it's like living in a campground kind of. So we will do that, although the ferrets are going to stay inside for that. But anyway, if you like this video, please click the like button. Thank you so much for watching and have a great week.